And we are live. I'm here
Yeah.
this morning with Marcy Kerr. She is the owner of Chrome Fitness, which is a pole dance studio in Carmel, Indiana. And she's using her master's degree in kinesiology to teach us the fabulous gift and I think therapy of pole dance. So thank
Yes.
you for joining us today, Marcy.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Morgan. I really appreciate it.
I'll push up that. So I had to have Marcy on to share more about the way that she thinks with everyone and have her share more about this, about pole dancing itself, because I've shared with Marcy a little bit. It's truly changed my life, and the community that she's created at Chrome is, I don't want to be like, say ideal, because that's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
But the community of women that we have at Chrome and that I have the pleasure of belonging to is extraordinary. So what I'd love to kind of kick off is just tell people a little bit how you got started and how you went from kinesiology to pole dance.
Yeah, of course. So I have my BS and my MS in kinesiology from IUPUI, and when I was in my third year of undergrad, I'd been teaching fitness classes like Zumba and kickboxing, strength classes, just getting all into the fitness world. And I had a friend that took a pole class, and she came to me and she said, "You have to try this. You will love it." And so I took a class and I did love it. And I remember so it was kind of an audition to also be an instructor for pole at the same time. And so I was learning some things that I would not usually teach somebody on their first day, but it was an audition to see if, I had the ability to become an instructor one day. And so I was taught how to climb on my first day.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And it was really hard. As you know, it is really
Yeah.
hard. And I just remember thinking, like, I can do 3 pull-ups and I can't climb this pole. Like, I thought that I was strong,
Yeah.
You always think you're strong, and then you try a pole class and then you realize, like, oh no, I'm not really as strong as I thought.
Yeah.
So that for
Yeah.
me was I was like, I have to do this. I'm addicted now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I felt coming to you at Chrome. I mean, I tell Marcy all the time, especially when I started, I was like, you're running gladiator training.
You're right.
Because what she's talking about with pole dance, like I've been going to the gym and working out for years, and I thought I was pretty strong. And then I went to ChromeCon, which is an amazing class Marcy teaches to prep us to do this hard work on the pole. But
Yes.
ChromeCon, and then getting into climbing, and I was like, I'm a noodle. Like, I'm not strong at all. I don't know what these muscles are doing, but
Yes.
they have not been working up to this point.
Yes. So it's a really great workout, sport, profession, whatever you want to make of pole. It is very unique, and the way that you have to use your whole body all at once, it's incredibly challenging and motivating, and just unlike anything else out there.
It really is. I mean, I don't know much about kinesiology. I know that's your field, but as the coming from the person doing the dance and just the sole experience of participating in the sport and enjoying it, to me, it really feels like the work that we're doing is remapping and rewiring our brains and bodies. Like I don't think I had much body control before starting pole dance with you. And I feel like as a pole dancer, you have to be so present and also controlled of every aspect. With your training and background, is there some, like, I don't know, like validity, or like, is that a thing, so to speak, that it is mapping our bodies out?
So there is definitely a connection between your brain and your muscles and the ability for your brain to recruit those muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And with any activity that you might do, that connection does get stronger. So most of us do not use our full potential of our muscles, and there's many reasons why, but part of it is that your brain really can't recruit them. It never like gets to that point where it says, yes, use all of the muscle fibers. So even, us as training athletes, we're still not even hitting our potential. But what is different about...
I'm smiling because if you're in Chrome and like you see Marcy dance and other pole athletes, it's hard to believe they're not using their potential because it's incredible.
Yes, thank you. So what's I think different about pole is typically, or right now, we usually start it as adults. And so our body has already like made all of these connections. Like, we learned how to walk, and that was a connection. And then, whatever sport or activity we might have done or dance growing up. But now we are adults and we kind of have these like set movement patterns. And now we are doing something that is not within those movement patterns, that's completely different. And so you'll see that, and you probably remember, but from your first class to your second class, or just your changes within your first month or two, are extreme, because the first day your body is just like, what is happening? I don't know how to move like this. But then your brain starts to figure out how to connect to your muscles better. And so it's much better on day 2 and day 3. And suddenly you're like, okay, I can do this. It's not so wild anymore. But why I say, right now we usually start as adults is that pole is something that you can do at any age. And there are definitely kids that are starting to do it. So, they're going to surpass us so far because they're starting as children, but that's fine.
Yeah. They're going to be superhuman. Like they
Yes.
will be the Wonder Women and Men gladiators. Yes. For sure.
Yes.
I know, like, you have a really unique process, I think, to both guiding teachers and teaching those in your pole class. Like what you described when we go in, it is hard. Like, you kind of feel like Bambi or like a little colt. You're like, this is so much fun. Like, I want to do it. And then you're like, oh, but like, I'm trying to do this thing with my body, and my body is just like, not responding sometimes, or it doesn't look anything like what you want it to look like.
Yes.
And your process really teaches us to dive into, I want to talk about like how we love, honor, and respect our bodies as they are today. And can you share a little bit more about, like, as an instructor and as a leader in the community, you really focus on helping to create that for us as your students, so that people that maybe don't have the environment or can't come train with you can work on having that for themselves as well.
Yeah. So one thing that I had probably multiple professors at IUPUI, two things that they always really talked about is that the best workout is the one that you'll do, and so that's, I think pole is great, but at the end of the day, if pole isn't for you and maybe running is for you, that's fantastic. Go do whatever it is that will get you out of bed and be motivated to do. Mm-hmm. But the second thing that they mentioned is that, and it's a little gloomy, but it's something good to live by, is just that our abilities are not guaranteed. They're not guaranteed in the next hour, tomorrow, in the next month. And so wherever you are today, you have to appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Whether it's, what you really aspire to be doing, whatever you have today, you just have to appreciate it. And so looking at, a room full of new students that might have very different backgrounds, very different strength levels when they come in, no matter what I'm teaching you and how strong you might be on day 1, it is hard for everybody, and some people might get it better at the end of the class than others, but it's still hard for everybody. But the point is that you're doing it and you're trying it and that you can do it, So just being grateful for whatever it is that your body can do right now. And if that is a step around, which is a very, very basic, beginner move, or if it's lifting your whole body up with just your, hands, whatever it is, that's really awesome. And that is fantastic for today. And you can absolutely set goals and want to, have a different level of strength or whatever it is that you want to get to. But I don't really want, it bothers me so much when people like hate themselves in the moment, that they will only love themselves when they get to that one goal. And you gotta enjoy the journey and love yourself as you are today. And, love yourself when you get to your goal. That's fantastic too. But just, our bodies are awesome. And whatever it is you can do, walk, run, fly, be grateful for it.
And you model that so well there. Like that's, and participate in this series. And I have a different, Marcy is not my series instructor. I get to have many classes with Marcy. But, in practices and everything is, I think, and with other women, that just the community is that you get to do what you can do today. And, as I share, I have some chronic illnesses and things. And what's great about being in community with you and everyone else is like our 80% or 100% of what we have to give that day is going to look different day to day. And so when you walk into the pole community, like you said, everybody is learning the same hard things. Like we all know it's hard. So if you walk in and like one day you only have 20% of what another day you can give 100%, everybody there is still so supportive. And it teaches you, like what I've learned from you guys is to support myself in that way and like to celebrate those small things. Because the step around Marcy's talking about, like that was even hard for me. Like walking gracefully around the pole felt like a celebration at first. And I just love how you experientially allow people to have that feeling of self-love. It's one thing to tell ourselves we love ourselves. It's another thing to like try to do those hard moves and show up and your body won't do it. And then you get that positive praise from both your peers and yourself. Be like, you know what? You tried. Good job for doing what you can today. Like, that's, we so need that in this day and age, and we don't get it enough. So I love that that's what the community stands for and really celebrates, it feels like.
Yeah, thanks. And to talk about like something that you're working on right now, your dreaded Superman move, and sometimes that move goes well, like you're getting it. But whenever you're working on that move or somebody's working towards a goal and it's maybe not being 100% successful, what I would love for us to look back on is what are the steps that you had to take to even be able to attempt that Superman? Like you still had to do an invert and you still had to do a leg hang and get to, that Jasmine position. And all of those things are really awesome in themselves. And at one point, those things might have been really hard for you. So, sometimes we get that like tunnel vision of like, no, I have to do this thing. And we kind of forget about all of the cool things we already know how to do that got us to that point. And so to still just like celebrate that, hey, maybe today you're inverting and that's cool. Maybe there's nothing happening after the invert, but that's okay.
And I think it's helpful to break down the steps, which, talking about the Superman I've been struggling with, that's what Marcy helped me do last time. It's not that we're wrong. Like if you can't do something, it's not that you're failing as a person. Like sometimes it's like going back through and looking in this process of whatever you're doing. In this case, we're talking about a Superman, like what is it that I need to tweak and do differently to get to the outcome that I want to have? Because that's what we found out with me. Like Marcy mentioned an outside leg hang, and that's very important in Superman, which I didn't intend to be faking it up until now, but we discovered that I was not holding on with my leg. So instead of like looking at, oh, like I'm failing as a person, I'm terrible, I'm never going to do Superman, it's more like, oh, like, what part of this process do I need to actually make a tweak so that I can get the outcome? It's not me being bad as a person. It's just that I just didn't learn the skill the way I didn't need to, or I didn't have Google's talking to me on my phone. You know, sorry, that completely threw me off track.
That's okay.
Google. She wants to chime in sometimes, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it's not that our bodies are wrong or can't do things. It just takes us more time, and it takes awareness to find how we need to tweak things for our own bodies to do what we want, I think, a lot. And that step, I think, is looked over a lot in fitness. And I think that's what I love about pole dance. Like I don't really feel like as a dancer, you can pass up those steps and do the things that you want to do, because
yes,
you have to be so in tune and in control of your body.
Yeah.
That you really have to slow down, I think, which I love.
Yes. And something you said is, you know, not getting this move is not a reflection of you as a human being. And that is something that we can take with us, and why I think pole dance really does give people a lot of confidence outside of their pole training is just, you know, if you mess up at work, that is not a reflection of you as a human. You know, if you miss a workout, you can still be a good person. You can still help others. You can still be a light in the world. And, you know, your abilities as a pole dancer don't define that. So, you know, that's okay. You can still go home and sleep at night.
Exactly. And that's a perfect time to like segue into a little bit like what it means to really empower ourselves, and also how to show up for others, because, you know, as I've shared, the community that you lead is truly empowering. And while everybody celebrates each other and is a cheerleader for each other, you know, it's in a very human way, like we're talking about. Like, so I'd love for you to share a little bit more about how you focus on empowering others and yourself even.
Yeah. So one thing that I kind of keep in mind is, you know, we all have things that make us maybe feel our best, like having our hair done or makeup on or a certain outfit or something. And that's great. We should always have those opportunities to feel just like $1,000,000. But you know, I remember when I first started pole really does have this like kind of glamorous aspect to it. We get to wear awesome outfits and shoes, and, you know, you can have your hair done even while you're on the pole, and it's great. And so I would always, you know, really put in a lot of effort before I would go teach a class. And when I opened my business, that effort went down significantly because there was so many other things to do. And it still happens today that I just literally run out of time to put on makeup. But my class is not better because I have makeup on. I didn't teach better with or without it. No one walked in the room and said, "Ugh, I am leaving," you know?
No.
And so, you know, on your good days, on your bad days, on the days where you feel great about yourself, on the days where you don't feel so great, I just started realizing like nobody cares. And if those people do care, they're probably not sticking around for a long time because I'm not the person that they need at that moment. And so that's something that I take with is just, it's not about how you look. It's about how you're interacting with people and treating them. And, you know, if you're a good instructor, you're a good instructor no matter what. And so people don't care if your outfit's cute, if you have cellulite, whatever for the day. They're there to learn. And so I would just love for people to be able to find that in themselves. And that's really hard. You know, that's not something that just happens overnight that you can just let everything go. And I get that. But sometimes we'll talk about this in class, or I'll mention it to somebody, and it's not a secret, but, you know, the way that we talk to ourselves, we would never talk to anybody else that way. Like, oh my gosh, we would die if we ever said those things to somebody else. And so I think that is something important to look at in our classes, is that, you know, you might be struggling on something and somebody else still might be struggling, but when you watch them do it, even if they're not successful, you still see how close they were or how successful in other things they were, and you're still really proud of them. And like, okay, now take those tears and put them on yourself when you do the same thing of like getting really close. You know, so it's just trying to look at how we perceive others and then trying to do that for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I can feel that in the community. Like we're, as humans, we're allowed to show up in there. And I think we, like the model that you set helps us reflect it back to one another. Like you said, like, you know, I remember just starting out and looking around. I mean, like, oh, like it's intimidating. Like we have amazing dancers, but I was like, okay, like they started where I started. And you know, I had those days, like we have a very mixed class. Some days, some of us will show up to class and we have our hair and makeup done and we look super cute and we're feeling ourselves, and that's celebrated. And then some days we're in class and like Marcy said, like I may just throw my hair up and wipe my face off. And sometimes I have forgotten to put on my full shorts and have had to borrow like that from my instructor, because some days you just don't have it together. And you're equally celebrated in the community, because it's about you as a person, not what it's the human inside you, not what your body looks like, not what it's capable of that day, or how you know, fancy it up or address it. Yeah. And that's like, I think it's about how we feel and help other people. And it's amazing when you collect a bunch of people in a room and women and you let them exist at that level. Like it changes the whole energy of a room. From, I mean, it's being at Chrome is the first time I've been able to witness like what you're talking about from a feeling level. When you have a group of people that all operate on that framework, it creates such a place of safety and support, which is really empowerment to just show up as yourself. It's
and that can be really tough for people. And like you said, even walking into a space where you feel that confidence or you see it, that can be intimidating for people as well. And
especially when, like with pole, like, you know, if people are unfamiliar, like you start off pole dancing with clothes on because you're not climbing. So we have pants and shirts. And if you go to practice, if you're more advanced, you just have shorts, you know, and like a bra, because you need skin to do the pole moves. So even that is a process to, you're walking in a room and everyone looks so confident and comfortable, and you may not be there, but it's just because, like my past guest was talking about walking down a journey. They're farther along, and you're allowed to be where you are, and they're allowed to be where they are.
And the students at Chrome are fantastic, and so many of them are just, you know, when a new person walks into a class, they're saying, "Hey, how are you?" cheering them on in class. And so a lot of people will, you know, thank me for the environment at Chrome, but I love to just turn that back around and say, you know, like, it's really all of us. It's not just me. But so it's a lot of the students that go out of their way to make others feel comfortable. And that's really, really what makes Chrome the place that it is. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we just take the time to notice and appreciate each other, because especially like the farther you get in pole, like it is hard, guys. Like I started off, oh, this is so fun. It's so easy. My first series, and like just over a year into it, it is hard.
Yes.
Very hard. And so just to be able to show up for someone else and appreciate them makes you feel really good, because you know how hard it is. And so when you see even someone on their first day, you want them to feel what you've learned and felt, and to feel just so supported and to be able to feel good because you know the work it takes to any of the moves along the way, you know what it takes to get there. So you just want to help celebrate people. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Everybody's really great at Chrome. And I just had a class move to the stage where they need shorts. They start climbing. And I had a student email me after the class and just say, you know, she was really nervous about putting on shorts, and she was fine in class, and, you know, thank you for the environment. And I'm so glad that I could provide that for somebody, but it does make you think about what is happening in the world. You know, when was the last time that she put on shorts, and like, what happened to her? Like, what did someone say? And, you know, I told her even the same thing of like, in the studio, I am so comfortable in my shorts, but if you caught me at like a family gathering or a cookout or whatever, I'm probably in pants, because yes, in the real world, I am not that comfortable in it. And, you know, it honestly comes from like childhood trauma, if you will, of, you know, I'm very like pale skinned, and like, you know, my friends in middle school or high school would go tanning because, you know, the tan skin was looked favorably upon. And so they would make fun of me for my very light skin. And so it made me not want to, you know, ever wear shorts. Like, I would put them on so many times, like, I'm going to wear shorts today. And then you walk outside and the sun hits your skin and you're like, oh my God, I'm a ghost. I can't do it. And you walk back in and put on pants, right?
Yeah.
And, but it's like, that has never happened to me at the studio. No one has ever been like, please cover your legs, you know?
No.
And so, yes, this is really a good space where you can just like be comfortable as you are. But yes, sometimes the world outside is like very scary and very mean. And, but I know that what we're learning at Chrome, like you talked about, just how to like be nice to people and bring them up. I know that there's, you know, 100 Chromies out in central Indiana, just like bringing people up all day long.
We are. It does make me think about things differently. Like I mean, I honestly feel the same. I'm getting more comfortable like showing up and showing my body outside of class, and coming from an industry where it was my job to, you know, modeling you're selling your body essentially. It's very strange to think that I would not want to show my body, but the experiences that you're talking about happened to me so much as well. Like, I'm also fair skinned. I was super skinny. People thought my mom starved me when I was a little girl. You know, I was tall and gangly, and I had glasses from the age of 2, and I was super nerdy. So, you know, not only was I pale, and people said I was reflective, you know, like they would say that thing like, oh, you're going to blind me, you know? Or like, you know, as body types go in and out, people used to tell me I needed to go eat a cheeseburger. I looked like it was anorexic. You know, women used to come up to me and tell me that they hated me. And this is part of why I came to Chrome, because you would think that I'm so confident because at work I could show my body, but in the real world, like what we're talking about, I was targeted and attacked just for having the body that I did. And it was so uncomfortable, and it made me like, I stopped wearing makeup for a long time. I wore baggy clothes because I wanted to be as invisible as possible. And it really hurts when other women attack you. Like,
it does.
Especially like when they tell you that you make them feel bad for existing. Like, I'm so sensitive, it just killed me. So for me, like pole, it was more than just the athleticism, which I love. Like, I always wanted to be a gymnast and wasn't. And, you know, just the beautiful moves and using your body. But it's like, I don't know where else as women we get to experience that sense of physical safety. Like, even when I would go to the gym before, I felt like, I don't know about that judged is the word per se, but like, people have thoughts, you know, just about your body. And
oh yes.
you know, whether it's shorts or a swimsuit or a dress, like in the real world, walking around, it can feel so scary. So to as a woman to have that safe space where we get to wear the really fun shorts and, the longer we're in it, a year in, like,
Yeah.
mine keep getting shorter and shorter.
Right.
More and more comfortable. And you're in a community that celebrates all bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And is able to see the unique beauty we all have. It's really a gift I think we can give ourselves as women to just feel what that's like, which is rare in this world.
Yes. And really the only body comment that should ever come out is just, you look great, that's really all that needs to be said. There is nothing more than that. So
no.
Yeah.
So for people that want to get started, I know we are going to kind of go into like the different styles of pole and how to find what works best for you. I'd love to touch on that.
Yeah. So, first step is just go find a class and just dive in and do it, and know that you're gonna feel awkward for majority of the time, but keep going back and keep doing it, and that's gonna go away very quickly. So there really are so many different ways to pole, and many studios are very much a reflection of the owner. Like pole really doesn't have franchises yet. Maybe that will be a thing. But so studios are very, very unique. And, at Chrome, I try to offer a variety of styles, but there are still, even some things that we don't hit as much, or maybe not at all. And so when you're starting your pole journey, pretty much everyone is going to start about the same. And then you'll reach a point where it kind of can go different directions. And so it is okay to, find a space that has what you want. And just like, please do not ask every studio to be able to do every single thing. That is a lot, So all studios are just kind of doing what they're best at. But if that's maybe not your style, that's okay. Try to find someplace that is, and there's so many online classes right now that you can definitely find what works for you. So in pole, I would say, I wrote some notes that you could first categorize it as kind of professional or amateur. So professional could be, whether you're working in a club as a dancer, stripper, sex worker, whatever name you want to put with that, that's a professional pole dancer. You could be an instructor like I am, or you could be a competitor, where maybe you're not teaching, but you're training this like it's your sport. You're an athlete for it, and you're competing. And then amateur, I would just say, can be instructors, but it's your students that you're just doing this for you. You're not making money off of it. You're not trying to win anything or make a name or a brand for yourself. You're just doing it for you. But then within those, there's so many different styles. So one main thing that you'll see is wearing heels or dancing barefoot. And both of them are great. There are pros and cons to both. And I would say you should explore both. Typically in pole, not always, but typically you'll always start barefoot because it's hard enough. You don't need extra 5, 6, 7, 8 inches to work with. So even if you're starting barefoot and you really feel like you love it, like get a pair of heels, test it out, make sure. But you're not stuck to any one style. You can dance barefoot and dance in heels and love both, and that's fine. You might be drawn to one more than the other, and that is okay. And then there's what we would call low flow versus more aerial tricks. So low flow, you're typically on the bottom third of the pole. Of course, that depends on what height pole we're talking about. So at the studio where we have 13, 14 foot poles, yeah, we're working on the bottom third or the bottom half. Where typically, if you put your arm up, you're not really going above that height on the pole, and that's low flow. So low flow can be really slinky and smooth and spinny and lots of floor work. But low flow can also have really wild tricks in it and be very trick heavy as well. You're just not going up the pole. And both of those are great. Or you could have more of an aerial where you are using the whole length of your pole, whatever you're going all the way to the top and down, probably multiple times, doing drops, flips. And those are also great. And those can be done barefoot or with heels, any of those. And then you might just have more of a trick-based style, or you might have more of a like a smooth, flowy style where maybe you're not doing a lot of tricks. Maybe you're just really connecting more with the music or creating a story through your dance. Not that you can't create a story with tricks, but there's just so many different ways that you can pole, and it can be difficult for students to know what it is that they want or that they like, or that they might see, maybe one way that their style is and think that they have to be that way. So as an instructor, I'm really thankful that, I can be in control of the moves that I want to do and the routines that I want to put together. And not everybody necessarily has that ability or that creativity to do that. And so just finding instructors or classes that will help you do that is really important. So, I am thankful that I have the ability to where if I'm trying something and it's not going well, I'm just like, okay, fine, on to the next one. Whereas, if you're in a class and you're learning something, you like, this is what we're doing for class, and if you don't want to do it, well, that's what you got for class. And that's just kind of the difference between, taking a group class versus taking a private lesson versus being able to kind of lead your own path. And so just find what works for you and pole, and whatever that is, that's fine.
Just experiment, like we were going back to earlier, it sounds like just give yourself permission to figure out what you like. You're not going to know until you try it, and what you like this year may change next year.
Yes. You're not stuck on one thing.
Yeah. Are there any terms like people should look for that are new to pole dance, like as they're trying to find either the online classes or in-person classes?
Do you mean in general or for our studio?
Either one. I know they would know to type in pole dance. But if they're outside of Indiana, if someone didn't know the name of the studio and they didn't know what kind of pole dance, how would they find Chrome or another place?
Yeah, so if you're doing your search, because all of the pole studios are very independent or very locally owned, we don't have that kind of ad space or like the rankings that on Google that like a Orange Theory or a Club Bar or the Pilates studios might have that are franchises. So search a couple different terms, like search pole dance, search pole fitness, search pole sport, and you might through one of those terms find a studio that's in your area. Look on Facebook and just it's a lot of times that you'll just have to wait for a friend, to say like, there's a studio I found, and that's great. But yeah, any studio out there is going to kind of have their path for a beginner, so you should be able to easily find that online. And a studio is not going to let you take a class that is not, appropriate for you. So they'll be able to direct you to a beginner class.
Awesome. Well, that was very helpful. And I put Marcy's website up. So if you're in Carmel, Indiana, or in Indiana and you want to come try a class with Marcy, you can check out mychromefitness.com and see what resonates with you that you would like to try. Thank you so much for joining me today, Marcy, and sharing more about the wonderful work that you're doing and the thought process behind it, so that people that can't work with you can implement some of the things that you teach on their own.
Yeah. Thanks, Morgan. I really appreciate this. This was so fun.
Good. Got it. Thanks for joining, and feel free to also reach out and follow Chrome Fitness on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Just my Chrome Fitness.
Yeah. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.